What is up, guys? Welcome back to my reaction channel. It's your boy Chris, bringing with another SCP reaction video. And today, we're gonna react to SCP-2385, Somewhere in the Between, Mind of Life and Death. Bro, what the fuck's with the title, dude? It's long ass title, bro. Shorten it up, you know. Anyways, this is by Dr. Bob, another SCP animation. Y'all know how sick it is that he's so good at making animation videos. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell button for post notifications. Let's get into the intro.
A worker presses down on the plunger, and moments later, a huge explosion rocks the quarry. When the dust clears, the three quarry workers look on at the pile of rocks that they'll now spend the next days and weeks hauling out. But then, they spot something strange. There in the newly exposed rock face is an opening. The three men stand at the mouth of the previously hidden cave. They poke their heads inside, but it's too dark to see much of anything, except for the fact that the tunnel in the rock stretches on for at least a few meters before it turns and prevents them from seeing any further. One of the quarry workers slaps his co-worker on the back and dares him to go inside and check it out. "No way," he tells him as he pulls his hand back from feeling inside the cave wall, his palm now coated in a sickly slime. "It's gross in there." The other two laugh at him. If they think they're so brave, why don't the two of them go check it out? The two men stop laughing and look at each other. Who could have ever foreseen the tables turning on them like this? But they're not going to back down. One of the two takes out a flashlight, and they step into the cave while the third waits outside. He watches as the...
So are we just gonna ignore the fact that safety first, you know, safety hazard? Isn't there a protocol for workers when they discover something to actually report it first before they go inside? You know, the cave. You know what I'm saying? Bro, this is stupid, bro. You guys are reckless.
Two of them head deeper into the cave, disappearing behind the bend. Inside the cave, the floor is just like the walls, coated with some kind of substance making it wet, but also a little sticky. They half expected the cave to end right around the bend, but now they can see that it continues on. Not only is there another turn several meters ahead of them, but as they head deeper in, they find that there are branching paths too. This might just be the start of a vast cave system. There's no telling how far or how deep it might go. They better head back to the entrance before they get lost.
You know what I'm saying?
The two turn around to start heading back towards the entrance. But wait, what was that? They spin around. It sounded like there was a noise behind them. But there's nothing there, just the empty passageway. They must be hearing things. They really should get out of here quickly, though. Come on, let's go.
It's time to run, though.
As they turn to leave, though, something happens. With a sickening squishing sound, the walls of the tunnel constrict, closing up between them. He runs towards the now closed passage and starts slapping at the moist, soft wall.
Boss. Moist, soft walls. Are they inside someone's stomach? Bro, what the fuck? Yo, that's creepy, bro.
But there's no response. But then he does hear something. Was that a scream? He's realized something else, too. Even though his friend had the flashlight, he can still see. While faint, the walls themselves seem to be producing a small amount of light. He yells out that he's going to get help and that his friend should hold tight and not move. He'll get him out of there. He has no idea if he can hear him, though. He starts to slowly make his way back the way he thinks they came, but the cave feels different. He's taking turns that he doesn't remember making on their short trip. He should be at the entrance already, and there seem to be more branching paths than there were before. It's hard to tell in the low light, though. Maybe he's just confused. He's hearing noises, too. Wet, writhing sounds. He's got to get out of here. The quarry worker reaches a fork in the tunnel and has no idea which is the right way to go. He doesn't remember this at all. He calls down the tunnel, but there's no answer to his cries. He hears more of those wet, slapping sounds behind him, though. He's got to keep moving. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. The left tunnel it is. He goes down his chosen path, rounds a corner, and sees another fork. What is going on here? He's got to pick, though. Eeny, meeny, miny. He screams as something leaps out of the tunnel at him. Outside the cave, the quarry worker is growing nervous. He's gotten a flashlight of his own and shines it down the tunnel, but he can't see any more than they could before. He calls out, asking if they're all right. but he's met only with
Bro, don't go
silence.
inside, bro. Just
He turns around behind him at the
report
empty
it,
quarry.
alright? Like,
They're the
don't
only
go
ones
inside.
working on the site that day. And if they don't get back to work soon, there's going to be some angry questions about why they spent the day horsing around inside of a cave. As much as he hates the idea, he's got to go in there and get them out. He enters the cave.
Pause. Okay, guys, if this happens to me, the first thing I would do is that I would not go inside, bro. That's just dumb idea. Just asking for it, alright? Second, if it happens to my colleagues and I'm outside like this guy, yeah, I would rather be scolded, alright? Be scolded by my own superiors about not working up, you know, just say that, oh, we discovered this cave, you know, and the two of those, my colleagues who come inside didn't came out, alright? So just send somebody to look out for them, you know, search party or something. I'm not going inside there, you know what I'm saying? That is just stupid.
Cave and goes around the first bend. He too notices how oddly sticky and slimy every surface is. But
That
he has
should
to
be
press
a
on.
red
Maybe
flag
they were
already,
hurt
you know?
and needed his help. He rounds another bend and spots something. A pair of legs sticking out from around the next turn. His friend must really have been hurt. He runs
That's
towards
not
his
his
injured
friend's.
coworker and
Right.
kneels down next to him.
Oh,
It
it's-
looks like he's passed
it's his
out on the
friend,
ground,
okay.
and he tries to shake him awake. Are you okay? What happened? His friend moans a bit, but doesn't even open his eyes. He moans again, and this time blood starts pouring out of his mouth.
Oh,
The quarry worker steps back, scared at the sight of his friend's state. That's when he
dude,
notices
just
something.
carry the.
His
Oh
friend's
no,
stomach.
don't
It's
carry the
moving.
dude though, like this.
He leans in close. He can
Fuck
see
outta
bumps
there.
swelling and
Alright.
moving around his abdomen. Is that?
Is that an alien?
The SCP Foundation soon learned of the troubling reports and moved quickly to purchase the quarry and the surrounding lands. Those who had seen or heard rumors about the missing workers were amnesticized, and all further
What
access
is
to the
that,
area around the
amnesticized?
quarry
What's that?
was strictly controlled. The cave itself that had been unearthed was designated SCP-2385, but the Foundation needed to learn just what they were dealing with. So after
Yeah.
a research outpost was constructed over the entrance, the investigation into what was
D-class.
happening inside this strange anomalous cavern system
Yo.
could finally begin.
Send some D class there.
The first to enter the cave is D11424, a Class D personnel, who is equipped with a shoulder-mounted camera, a Ruger LC9 pistol, a machete, and 1 week's worth of rations, since it was unknown just how vast this cave system may be.
Okay.
D11424
They ain't playing
proceeds
around.
into the cave and immediately reports back the same conditions that the workers had experienced, that the surfaces of the cave were soft, wet, and a little sticky, and also that they seemed to have an almost imperceptible glow.
What is that
D11424 moves deeper
sticky
into the
thing.
cave, but sees no sign of the missing workers, despite one of their bodies having been reported as being lost relatively close to the entrance.
It was eaten
He's
already.
ordered to continue deeper into the cave, and radios back that the walls weren't stable. He would pass by openings in the walls that would seal off once he was past. On more than one occasion, he saw new passages open up as well, and these didn't appear to be caused by collapses or other geological activity. The walls seemed like they were
It was a stomach.
alive.
Yeah.
But the walls were the only sign of life he could
a
find.
Giant.
There
you
was
know,
still
like,
no evidence of the
explosion
missing
itself.
workers or whatever might have gotten them. But then, after
Might be.
D11424 rounds a corner, he sees that something is up ahead of him. It's not one of the workers. It's a creature. And one that looks like
The
nothing
fuck?
he has ever seen before. The thing crawling on the
It's a
floor of
worm,
the cave looks like a
okay.
giant worm, several
Snake.
feet in length,
Worm,
but with a grotesque, skinless human head.
Ooh.
D11424, frightened at the sight of
Oh,
this
what the
grotesque
fuck?
creature, turns to run, but it's too late. The worm has spotted him and charges at him immediately, slithering across the wet cave
Bro, what
floor
the
at an
fuck?
incredible speed. D11424 slips.
Yo. Bro, seal the cave though. If this thing is cave, it's gonna terrorize everybody, you know? Kill it with fire. Send some whatever, some gas, something, you know? Kill it. Shit.
Slips and falls to the ground.
That
His
thing
shoulder-mounted
looked like
camera
a-
knocked off his body and left facing the
old
wall,
man,
leaving the researchers
know?
monitoring the feed with nothing except the sound of his screams.
Look at that thing. Disgusting.
Once
bro.
contact was lost with the Class D personnel, the Foundation decided that due to the presence of hostile creatures within the cave system, that the next exploratory expedition
like an
would be
old
undertaken
man
without
in a-
humans. The
in a
mission was
worm,
authorized,
you know?
and 2 months later, a remote-controlled drone designated A-47 was sent into the cave. Just like D11424 and the quarry workers before saw, its camera captures passageways opening and closing in the living rock walls. As it progresses deeper, it eventually spots the same worm-like creatures with horrible human faces that look like they've had their skin removed, which have now been designated by the Foundation as SCP-2385-1 entities. And A47 soon discovers a surprising fact about these bizarre organisms. They appear that they are being birthed right from the walls of the cave itself. As A47 enters one of those largest rooms yet seen in the cave, its camera captures over a dozen 2385-1s growing out of the walls and ceiling in various stages of maturity.
Ooh.
Some of them snap at A47 as it passes by, trying to attack the drone, but luckily they're unable to reach. There's larger examples of the worms in the room too, and these ones also differ in appearance slightly, with a fibrous growth over their eyes. The researchers assume that these entities are different enough from the smaller versions that they warrant their own classification, and are designated as SCP-2385-2 entities. Luckily for A47, these larger specimens, which can be as large as 4 meters in length, seem much more docile than their smaller counterparts, and ignore A47 as it passes by. A47 then learns another shocking piece of information about these disturbing worm-like creatures. They're cannibalistic. Its camera relays footage back to the research team of a 2385-1 entity feeding on another, smaller one. It appears that they eat their prey whole after unhinging their grotesque jaws. The one feeding tries to lash out at A47 with its tail, but can't reach him with half of another instance in its mouth, and the drone continues deeper into the cave. Just when A47 enters the next chamber, the 2385-1 instance growing out of the ceiling drops down right in front of it, leaving no way for the drone to get around it in the narrow section of cave. A47 quickly turns around to seek out another path, but its camera captures the passage closing in front of it. A47 is trapped. The 2385-1 entity charges towards the remote-controlled drone and attacks, biting and slapping it with its powerful tail. It then attempts to consume it, but is unable to ingest the bulky drone and, instead, leaves the heavily damaged robot for dead, slithering away deeper into the cave. The battered drone lies immobile on the cave floor for several hours, its camera broadcasting until the last of its battery is finally about to run out. Just before it stops sending signals back to the research outpost, though, it captures something. The wall next to A47 opens up, and 2 of the larger SCP-2385-2 entities emerge from the new passageway. One of them approaches A47, as the other probes at the wall next to it with its head. It seems as though the larger of the entities are actually able to form new pathways in the cave, or at least open up doorways between existing ones. With the last of its battery power, A47 sends back a truly remarkable sight. Out of the hole opened by the 2385-2 entity appears D11424. He's dirty, disheveled, sporting a month's worth of beard growth, and brandishing a machete. The wall opens up from the -2 entity prodding at it, and the odd group exits through it. It's the last thing A47 transmits back to the Foundation. 2 months later, after several more failed manned missions, there was finally a success. An SCP-2385-2 instance that had wandered close to the entrance was retrieved from the cave system and brought back to a Foundation research site where a camera was surgically implanted in its head. The entity, which was designated as Subject Alpha, or SA, was then amnesticized and released back into the 2385 caves, allowing researchers to monitor how it behaved as it traveled through its home environment. The researchers watched as SA made its way through the cave system and stopped in another of the rooms filled with young versions of 2385-1. The larger entity approached several and appeared to nuzzle its face against theirs before moving on, which looked to have a calming effect on the extremely aggressive smaller versions. As it continues through the tunnels, SA sees a group of 2385-1 instances feeding on a deceased 2385-2. It appears that when 2385-1s are unable to swallow their prey whole, they burrow into the body and consume them from the inside out. Luckily, they are too distracted by their meal to pay any attention to SA, and it is able to pass by.
Isn't that what happened to those 3 men who actually get inside? Some of it, one of the men, right, like, some of it got into his mouth, right, like, yo, that's brutal, bro. That's a brutal death. Eating from the inside. Shit. So
SA then runs into 2 other 2385-2 entities, and the 3 begin traveling through the caves together. They are soon attacked by a smaller -1, but the group is able to pin the biting and thrashing entity to the ground with their powerful tails, allowing SA to nuzzle it. Just like with the ones being birthed from the wall, this seems to calm the creature. But there is another effect as well. As the 2385-1 entity becomes more docile, the same fibrous growths that can be seen on the larger 2385-2 entities start to grow over its eyes.
Oh.
Is this how 2385-2s are created? The group of -2s continues their journey through the tunnels, often stopping to prod at the walls to open new pathways.
That's so bizarre, though.
It appears that they are searching for something, looking around each new room they enter before moving on. Eventually, they run into something, but it doesn't appear to be what they wanted to find. They enter a new section of cave, and blocking the path in front of them is the largest SCP-2385-1 entity yet recorded. It's as big as the -2s at over 7 meters in length and weighing an estimated 400 kilograms. It appears to be extremely hostile, but the -2s seem to instinctively know that the only way forward is to go past this massive -1. The trio nuzzles their heads together as if they are saying one final goodbye before one of the -2s charges straight ahead. The -1 attacks and quickly incapacitates it with its powerful tail and snapping jaws. It begins feeding on the -2, giving SA and its one remaining companion the time they need to get past. As the now duo moves past, the other is attacked from a side tunnel by a group of regular-sized but ferocious -1s. SA can't do anything to help. It seems to pick up the pace and continues on, but as it rounds a corner, it comes face-to-face with another large -1 instance.
Oh, you're dead.
It turns down a side tunnel to avoid it, but finds itself in a dead end. It prods at the wall as the -1 rushes towards it, but no new passageways open. It turns around, seemingly resigned to its fate as the -1 begins attacking. But just then, something else appears in the tunnel coming towards them. It's D11424, charging forward with his machete raised in the air, his hair and beard both long and wild. He begins fighting the large -1 entity, hacking at it with his machete until it finally dies.
Why are you helping
With the
them?
vicious entity now dead, he kneels down next to SA and begins stroking its head in a calming manner. "Hey there, little guy. You all right?" he asks as he pets the 2385-2. "Yeah, you're fine. Get up. I know where it is. Come with me." SA struggles from its injuries, but is able to follow D11424 as he leads it through the tunnels. With D1...
So this thing can be tamed, right? Yo. It looks disgusting. It looks like an old man squished inside the worm's body, but... Okay. Little Rambo right here, though.
424 stopping at one point to carve a piece off of the fleshy walls and consume it. The tunnels eventually open up into a large room that looks similar to the rest of the cave system, except there is a huge glowing orb at its center. It's a beautiful sphere of warm light that appears to be at least 10 meters in diameter.
And what is
Here
that?
we are, the D-Class tells SA, and motions towards the orb. It's all right. SA nuzzles against D11424, perhaps one final thank you for saving its life, then instinctually seems to know what to do. The camera feed shows that it began crawling towards the sphere, and after a brief pause, started pushing itself inside. The camera recorded the brilliant light of the orb engulfing SA and its implanted camera before the feed finally cut out. The SCP Foundation would later discover that on that very same day, in the city of Elgin, Illinois, a local woman was admitted to the hospital after complaining of abdominal pains. Doctors performed emergency surgery and found something they did not expect. A micro camera had somehow become embedded inside of her body, which upon later investigations would be found to bear the same serial number as the one that had been implanted in SA. Following this strange event, SCP-2385, which had previously been classified as Euclid, was upgraded to Keter. An observation site has been built at the quarry and no further human expeditions are allowed inside. In a bit of good news, sometime later, D11424 finally emerged from the cave system. He was taken back into SCP Foundation custody and continues engaging in exploratory missions on behalf of the Foundation to this day. Now go and watch SCP-002, The Living Room, to find out about another bizarre location that may just be more than meets the eye. And make sure you subscribe and turn...
Yo guys, that is SCP-2385. 2385, right? The... somewhere in the between Mine of Life and Death. So that's why it was called Mine of Life and Death, you know, because... Bro, I don't know what the thing is, but once they find an orb, a glowing orb, and they got inside it, they will be reincarnated as a human, as a person, you know. And seems that D-Class guy, find out about it, and he was like leading some of those things in the orb, you know. he actually tamed it, you know, because they seem to have a lower sentient, you know, the ability to think in a lower way, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, also that D-Class though never have like, bro, props to the guy though, he was like a Rambo, he survived. Shit. Anyways, like the video guys, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell button for post notifications. If you have any suggestions, comment down below. With that being said, I'll see you guys soon.